Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to talk about Suburban Commando. So I am to go on and honor or celebrate the life of Hulk Hogan, Terry, whichever. I'm to go on and just say here that I want to go on and narrowly, uh, in some ways, just think of more of the positive than any of the negative that is to come across Hulk Hogan's life or career or whatever, and really just want to go on and say that I am to be saddened by Hulk Hogan's passing, and to also just say that in turn, like, I think a lot of us are just like, well, hey, like, we ended up all calling him Immortal Hulk Hogan for a reason, and Hulkamania will live forever, and and that all of us as fans of Hulkamania and Hulk Hogan, like, we're gonna just keep holding that torch forever as long as we can. And so, with me saying that, like, I had been a person who had watched Hulk Hogan in the WCW era of Hulk Hogan, and I know that that may not go on and be the prime of Hulk Hogan's career. I know a lot of people would go on and probably tell me, like, you gotta watch the early WWF stuff. You gotta watch the Mega Powers. You gotta watch this. You gotta watch that. Da, 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 da. I get all that. I understand that. And I know a lot of people who've gone on to have their different time period, era, whatever ways of which that is to pay tribute to this guy because they had gone on and seen the whole history of this man's career in a lot of ways. I am to go on and say that WCW is the time of which that I had caught up with Hulk Hogan here. I could probably say some WWF, WWE stuff, but like eventually, like he'll would go on to come back to the WWE, and I'll have seen him there also. Uh, I think the one funny thing to kind of look back on is when Hogan changed from the yellow and red to the black and white, and for me to go on and to see Hulk Hogan be wrestling like Roddy Piper somewhere, and he's now a bad guy. Like, in my mind, like, I didn't think that Hogan was the bad guy, and so I was still, in my mind, I think, cheering on Hulk Hogan, not knowing any better. And then my parents had to kind of help me understand that Hulk Hogan was now a bad guy, and I needed to boo him because he's the bad guy. And I was like, oh, he's the bad guy now? Oh, like, to me, I never got on and was to have thought that wrestling, like, the characters could have changed that way to eventually be good to bad, or vice versa, whatever, what have you. And then eventually some wrestlers go on from a week to week basis and just turn good to bad for however a story is to go on, and just need them to be slotted somewhere. Not naming names, but I'm just saying that there are wrestlers out there that, like, they've gone on to shift the good or bad way too often, and that's the problem. That's true. But uh, so I decided, like, well, hey, I'm gonna just continue to just cheer on the good guys. So eventually, I got into enjoying the Wolf Pack and a number of other things that kind of went into play of that, and eventually had gone on to just follow Hogan's career and see him go on to change into the red and yellow again, and see him eventually go on to become like the Hollywood Hulk Hogan, where he's still wearing the red and yellow, but he's also wearing the red and black. So it's just kind of like, okay, so what is he gonna end up being uh, within that iteration of WCW? And that was just kind of fascinating to watch. And uh, then eventually see that eventually he is to go on and make his way back to WWE, and he was to, of course, wrestle The Rock, which a lot of people going like, "Oh my God, that was the greatest match!" Yeah, yeah. Like I just rewatched it yesterday, and because I was to just try to just rewatch that match to just get a good feel of it and get the crowd just like going banana about that match and just really enjoying it. Uh, but so uh, eventually seeing through that certain era of time of which that I was to go on and be a wrestling fan and got to watch Hulk Hogan perform, like, and also seeing him in TNA, where like Hulk Hogan being involved in TNA got me interested in TNA. I was like, ooh, ah, like I get it that people within the TNA system can kind of look down on the fact that Hulk Hogan was in TNA. Like I'm gonna be like, hey man, like he got me into that company. He got me really interested in that company beyond the stuff that I was kind of already watching with TNA. But when Hulk Hogan was involved in that show, I was to go on and check it out. And really, that was to also have me go on and watch quite a bit of the talent that went through there, like Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe's and all those other kind of things that were just really great for that company at those time periods of which that I would go on and take a look at that TNA or event or impacts or whatever it was called at some points in time. But so, uh, I had also at some points gone on and watched some of the Hulk Hogan movies. I had watched No Holds Barred quite a bit of time ago. Not saying for anyone to check that review out. I'm just saying that that exists also. That I had gone on and also just been a person that have. I think I did see Mr. Nanny at one point, but if you were to tell me to recall anything from that movie, don't quite remember anything of it. Even for this film, I think I'd gone on late at night at one point, had watched like a sliver of it, but then kind of re-looking at it now, I'm like, wait a minute, like you have a movie where I can both see both Hulk Hogan and The Undertaker in one film. Like, sign me up! Like, let's watch this bad boy. Like, I don't really care if Undertaker didn't really have much of any lines within this film. Like, I'm like, let's see this bad boy. Let's go on and check this out because I didn't remember that The Undertaker was in this film because it's been such a bit of time since seeing it last. So, when going into this film, let's talk about it. So, this movie, probably to a lot of people's minds, could be like, man, like all the Hulk Hogan movies, boo, yeah, no. I can go on and say that this movie, like, regardless of it probably being so bad, like, maybe it's so bad it's so good. I had a good time enjoying this movie. There's a lot of good, funny gags in this film. I had a good time. We have like a fish out of water kind of scenario with um, Ramsey slash Hulk Hogan's character being involved in Earth, which it seems that he is to have not much of any real knowledge of Earth, with the exclusion of the fact that he just hates Earthlings. So Hulk Hogan's character, Shep with a P, Shep Ramsey, uh, makes his way onto uh, be a space ranger in the very beginning of this film, and then he is to go on and realize that he's stuck on Earth for his ship to recharge, and that leads Ramsey to then just go on through his walkabouts upon Earth through his day-to-day memes, is to all of a sudden go on and see all of these things that are happening within it, and he is to try to go on and do the morally right decisions. And that ends up in, well, in his mind, sometimes they're morally right decisions. Sometimes he just doesn't quite understand what exactly is going on. And so the comedy ensues within that, and that's just kind of funny. So uh, when watching like these things just play out with the whole like cat in the tree, or the skateboarding things that kind of just reoccur within this film, or the fact that like we consistently have like Ramsey and this mime facing off between one another throughout this entire film. It's kind of funny. But then also, while we have Ramsey, we also have Charlie's character, who's to go on and just be this character that needs to go from this very shy, very like like trying to avoid conflict kind of guy, and often you'll go on and see him just kind of hiding away in his workshop until his workshop becomes uh, this guest room for rent uh, thing. We go on to have eventually Charlie, who is to turn into realizing that lives or the fate of his planet could go on and be in crisis if Charlie does not go on and step in and help out. So Charlie ends up going on and helping out Ramsey towards the tail end of this film, as well as he is to also go on and once Charlie's to figure out that Ramsey is to be this uh, kind of fish out of water, even more so than Charlie is to find out, because Ramsey is to state that at some point that he is from France. Like, oh yeah, how romantic! And then Charlie's to start to go on and investigate Ramsey more to come to find out that he has kind of these unusual weapons, and then he goes on to find that he has this spacecraft, and then he has these other kind of gadgets and armor and things, and like yeah, it all leads to more comedy that ensues within this film, but also is to lead to bounty hunters making their way to try and take out Ramsey here, and those one of those bounty hunters ends up being the Undertaker himself, and then the other guy is of course be a actor which that I don't have the name right on me here on my cell somewhere. Um, but I knew that the bounty hunters they do actually it seems have names in this film, which I thought was like okay cool, at least they have names. Like they could have just been called bounty hunters, and what difference would it actually have made? But so we go on to this film and having Ramsey have these problems, these bounty hunters, as well as also uh, facing them off again against what is to be his nemesis, and eventually trying to figure out a way to beat them all, and also really just trying to figure out whether or not that Ramsey should finally go on and have much more of a life than he is to have gone and logically to have had. Um, Instead of just going into these space adventures, like it seems that he's consistently going on and doing, that maybe he should take some time to just enjoy life and have a wife or whatever. And also, like this movie is to go on and just remind me, honestly, of the movie Critters. Maybe the first or the second one or whatever, but like this movie just kind of oddly reminds me of that, with the exclusion of uh, there not being this kind of weird like space exterminator like story, but it's kind of in some ways just kind of somewhat similar when you think about it, when you kind of look at the costumes and you also look at the fact that like we have these kind of people from outer space that are kind of this fish out of water story that are just to be kind of going throughout this town running amok, kind of feels very similar in a lot of ways. So, anyways, with that said, uh, the overall grading of this movie is that it was good. I don't care what anyone is to go. Like a lot of people probably go on and say it's bad, it's horrible, it's whatever. But this movie is stupid, whatever. I get it. Um, I was just entertained by this film. There was so much just. I liked the comedy of this movie, even though it's stupid, goofy fun. It was just really enjoyable by me. And so I am to go on and say that there wasn't much of behind the scenes stuff that I knew about this film. I know at one point Hulk Hogan had gone on in full Suburban Commando garb and had been on Arsenio Hall and talked about how this movie is just kind of just entertainment and like for 100 minutes, like people can go on and just uh, really find this movie to just kind of be something to be entertained by or just escape from or whatever. So, like, I think having him just kind of transition from talking about sports entertainment to then talking about the entertainment of this movie was just kind of really just sound, even though it probably didn't answer Arsenio's question. But regardless, I don't care. Like, it's like, like he's a pretty good talker. But then also, like, of course he is. Um, but anyways, uh, let's go on and let's break down this movie in the full-on spoiler terms. And also, let me go on and let's talk about some stuff that I'm thinking about doing next. Because I hope to go on and continue to try to do these more consistently. Um, there's a lot of problems that occurred yesterday with me trying to go on and do a video, and I'll go on and I will explain them. Even though probably people are just like, who cares? Like, yeah, so you didn't do a video yesterday. Because I'm going to just say here that uh, my cat Ollie yesterday had just gone on to have these bits of times where her body isn't moving as well as it used to. And I mean, obviously, like there is something going on there to where we're definitely going to need to bring her to the veterinarian fairly soon to see what is going on to try to figure this out. Because her like back half of her body isn't moving as well as her like front half of her body, and so like at some points like this morning she'd gone on to jump up in my lap and then she went flying out of the recliner and she fell on the ground and then she's just like she flopped all over the place and I'm like wow like I saw this also yesterday and I'm just like, what the heck is going on yesterday? And then this has happened today, and we're just like, okay, this is some scary stuff here. So, like, I know people would probably tell me it's like, well, you need to take her to the veterinarian right away for this. And I'm like, yeah, that requires money. like, like we kind of have to go on. We're definitely gonna go on and bring her to the veterinarian within the following days, I hope. Um, so we're planning on doing that, and we're just gonna have to decide of what we're gonna do with this. So I'm kind of dealing with that right now. It's just the stress or the anguish of just realizing that our cat is fairly old and that it may end up starting to become that time, if you know what I mean. And that's just freaking just um, a lot to deal with right now. Not only that, I'm to go on and to have had a person who was a family member of ours kind of through my parents decide to live here for quite a while, and this person decided to have moved out yesterday after X amount of time. So it was a pretty long stretch of time when he had gone on to live here. And when seeing the aftermath of this person leaving and seeing how he left that room as if a tornado would hit it, I'm just like, and there's stuff obviously that is gone missing now. That it's like, yeah, I think that there were curtains in that room before he got here. Yeah, I think there was this here. That, yeah. I don't want to get into the details because it's just like that's getting way too personal and whatever. But like, a little bit upsetting. A little bit upsetting. So I'm trying to deal with all this stuff. I'm trying to also yesterday because I realized that like since he was gonna move out, I decided that I was gonna kind of come down into my room and do uh, cleanup. Just because I had for too long just kind of left quite a bit of clothes just kind of disheveled down here because at some point I just kind of gave up sorting away my clothes. Um, because I would go on and need to use them for videos like this, or and it just kind of became that I just kept like just tossing them around and whatever, and I really didn't put them away the way that they should have, and it just kind of became a big, huge like ball of a mess to where it took me a while to just have to clean up all that, just because I just kind of gave up uh, and just threw all the clothes on the ground. Um, and so yeah, I try to at least um, come up with some way to just kind of clean that up. And still, like, there's like obviously like I don't have enough space anymore to go on and put all that away because I don't have enough things to store away that stuff or whatever, hang it anywhere, whatever. Um, but kind of been dealing with a lot. Kind of been dealing with a lot. So, anyways, let's go on and let's pause this as I am to go on and get out the notes or anything that I am to go on and talk about this movie for. And let me know in the comments below of your hopefully positive memories of Hulk Hogan or anything that you want to just go on and say RIP Hulk Hogan's. I'm sure that could probably be a thing that a lot of people could probably go on and say. Or just any number of things in between. Uh, yeah. So with that said, I'm just gonna go on and just get to the spoilers. So, spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time I'm gonna spoil this movie. Uh oh, future reviews. Uh, there had been an inkling in me to bizarrely, because I had watched this YouTuber called Peeps, and at some point he would go on and talked about quite a bit of video games as well as also him talking about like because I think I mostly went into the like the stuff that he was eating for a week just to watch something in between all the wrestling stuff that I've been watching a lot lately, and like seeing a lot of the wrestlers or guys that work with the company do all these tribute stuff, like Jim Cornette's and Steven Richards and Maven Hoffman and all these other wrestlers and people that have been involved in the industry talk about Hulk Hogan at some point. Kind of eventually, after all those names, things start to get blurry. Like the JD from NY 2 years ago, I would go and watch him and stuff like that, and just be able to have these people all go on and talk about Hulk Hogan. It's really nice, regardless of the way of which that some people are to go on and approach this because they are to go on and talk about how Hulk Hogan about how they want to talk about him. So I'd heard that Chelsea Green had also gone on to talk about Hulk Hogan, and then bizarrely she decided to just no longer want to be involved with social media for a good chunk of time. So that's sad. like it's nice for her to have gone on and spoke out. Um, but anyways, uh, let's go on and let's talk about the more details of this film. Let's go into spoilers. Oh, also, I'd gone on and seen the WrestleMania match between Hulk Hogan and The Rock. I had watched it one time before, but I wanted to watch it over again, just because of just the crowd and just the enjoyment. Anyways, so at the very beginning of this movie, spoilers, everybody. For those of you that don't want to get ruined about this film, want to see it for yourself if you've never seen it before. At the very beginning of this is a very Star Warsy open. Because of course we go on and have this big massive ship that is kind of making its way down this crawl, and we go on to have this smaller ship that is kind of making its way through here, and fire and blasting is to be happening here. So as this battle seems to be happening, we have General Suter, who's to be kind of this uh, I would call him like Emerald uh, Emperor Palpatine kind of guy, except for the whole thing of him not wearing actually like a hoodie. Like he just kind of has like, but it looks basically just like General Palpatine, except for there's to be no white makeup here. So, and this is to be General Suter. This to be the villain here. So Suter here is going on and talking to this supposed Mr. President, and there is some really just fun quips between the president and the Suter here, and how Suter is to go on and say that he's going to be conquering his fourth world and stuff like that. So, but all of a sudden, everything is to come to stop as Ramsey is to be clunking his way into the spaceship. I say clunking his way because, like in the very beginning of this, we of course see that Ramsey has these like metal boots, and eventually we'll see the rest of his armor. But the first thing we see is Ramsey's feet as he's making his way through all of these kind of foot soldier like characters, and he's laser gunning them all down, and we go on to have Ramsey actually finally be seen. And there's a lot of these villains that have made their way into this elevator, and it's like, hey, going up. And so he smashes them with their heads on top of the elevator, and he hurts them. And then as a bunch of the goons make their way into the elevator, now Ramsey is on top of the elevator, and he's like, hey, going down. And then he cuts the elevator wire and he holds onto it, and then the elevator collapses from underneath him and falls and crashes and what have you. So Ramsey goes on to make his way to where General Suter and Mr. President are to go on and be here. And so Ramsey makes his entrance and faces off against one of these big goons where he has to go on and kind of do some wrestling moves to this guy. But then a gun ends up getting thrusted into his face. And so there seems to be a moment of just like, okay, what is gonna transpire here? Like, is Ramsey gonna be able to save Mr. President, or what is gonna happen? So what ends up actually happening here is we find out that the Mr. President does go on and have this weird secret disc that he is to be hiding under somewhere in within his clothes. And so the disc is to be thrown here as the gun is to be coming out of uh, the of course Suter's hand, and now we see that Suter has no hand. That all of a sudden he's to regrow one, and it has become a lizard hand. And we're like, whoa, what is going on here? This is some wild stuff. So we have General Suter that ends up getting so upset with the president that he grabs the president, chokes the life out of him, and kills him. And so now that Ramsey's to realize that he's like, well, like I can't save the president anymore. Like I'll just go on. And like you almost have to assume that almost Ramsey is to leave this Mr. President to just die. It's very weird. But so Ramsey, when realizing that there's no way to save the president here, that he's dead, that Ramsey just in turn just finds this unusual um, drain to just thrust himself into, and he just starts putting all these explosives off to the side, and then detonates all of them, and is to make his way into this escape pod to then try and make it away safely as he is to go on and explode the ship, hoping to take out General Suter, which of course he does not. Suter ends up coming back by the tail end of the film. So, as Suter is now just kind of floating with this escape pod, just kind of floating into space. Suter is to try to get control of this pod as it's just kind of just going around and around and around. And so he's like, all right, I'm going to try to just figure out how to just work the controls so this can stop doing this. And also, we have Ramsey's ship that is to kind of tractor beam him in and to just try and just drag him back into the ship here. So, the next thing we see here is Ramsey going on and talking to Zanuck, whoever Zanuck is. Zanuck seems to be uh, Ramsey's advisor and his like mentorish character, and is to be the one who's to go on and be like, well, hey, like it seems kind of unnormal to you than the missions that you've gone on before, because in past times you would not go on and let the president just die like this. And so like Zanuck is to go on and think that maybe uh, Ramsey has gone on and just kind of been doing this far too often, that like maybe he just needs some time off. Maybe he just needs some time away. And Ramsey's to go on and be so upset with that he goes on and breaks a part of his ship. And then Zanuck is like, well, what did you just do there? And so Ramsey's like, oh, it's nothing. I didn't do anything. And it's like, well, you just broke your power core of your ship. So you're gonna have to go on and kind of land at the nearest planet and just kind of recharge. Uh, so like if anything, yeah, you're gonna have to like just take time off whether you want to or not. So we go on to have Ramsey realize that the planet that he is to be forced to make his way onto is Earth. And so he's probably going to end up having to stay there for at least like 6 weeks. So, like a whole month. Because people can figure out what 6 weeks is a month. But yeah, but maybe this is to go on and give Ramsey kind of some kind of perspective or some kind of reason to just kind of just keep on doing what he's doing. Maybe that's why he's to go on and be so frivolous with people's lives, because like really he's to go on and be so alone, it seems. So as Ramsey makes his way onto the location of Earth, he realizes like, man, I'm gonna end up on Earth. Like I hate Earthlings, and so we then go on to transition to Charlie, who's doing work on his woodshed or work shed that eventually will be customized to be a guest room, a guest house, guest something, like an Airbnb, whatever you want to call it, just like a little house next to their other house. So we have Charlie who's working on this skateboard, welding it, and we have his daughter that is going on telling Charlie to go, hey, like breakfast is ready, and so on and so forth, and so Charlie's like, okay, like tell your mother I'll be there soon. So we have Charlie making his way back in the house, and he completely forgets that he's wearing the welding hat, and also like for Charlie, like he just really enjoys his like wood workshop life or his woodshed whatever thing life that realistically like when he gets on home all he can think about is what he's just going to do in the workshop just to fix something or just to adjust something because that's all he enjoys to do. So maybe that'll go on and actually be his career at some point when we talk about kind of towards the end of this film, which they don't go on and they don't reveal that what he's going to do next. Spoilers, but I've already kind of like I don't think that ruins the movie if I say that already. But anyways, uh, we of course have Charlie's wife, who ends up being uh, Jenny here. My apologies. I think they accidentally call her Julie, and so I just kind of wanted to make sure that it was Jenny in this movie because I was like, yeah, it's Jenny, right? Because at some point they do call her Julie also. So Jenny is going on and talking to Charlie here, and is consistently telling him, it's like, well, you're gonna ask for a raise today, right? And Charlie's like, yeah, I'll try and I'll ask for a raise to and like and so Jenny goes on and she like grabs Charlie and chokes him and and is like, well, hey, you better ask today. You better like because we realize that like Charlie like sadly is just such a uh I don't want to say pushover like character, but like people obviously like walk all over him. Like not to say that Jenny is to be one of those characters. I'm just saying that like Jenny is trying to look out for Charlie, even so much more so than Charlie's willing to look out for himself, and that he's kind of worked so hard for that company, and they really don't give a shit about him. In all honesty, so Charlie makes his way onto his work environment where he's going on and he's like, well, I'm tired of busting my butt for this company. Uh, Only to be getting the short end of the stick, yada yada yada. Like, and so Charlie's going on and doing this whole speech, and we of course to go on to have Charlie's second secretary, I believe. Maybe it's not his secretary exactly, but it's one of the secretaries that are in the office here that are go on and just kind of overhear Charlie talking about all this. So like, well, that's all good and great that you're gonna go on and you're gonna say all that stuff, but wouldn't it be better if you go on and actually said it in front of your boss? That's kind of I'm hugely paraphrasing here. I'm hugely paraphrasing throughout this whole entire review here of what everyone says, not word for word, verbatim. So, because also that could be quite annoying, anyways, to have people like kind of quote out the whole entire movie. Oh yeah, it is his boss's secretary. My bad. So Charlie makes his way into Adrian Belt's office. So we have Belts that I really like this actor. He's really great in 10 Things I Hate About You. I know that that's kind of a romance, kind of teen movie, whatever. I don't care. Like, there's some really good comedy coming from that guy, and also I'd seen him in the Nutty Professor movies. Really, just a really good actor. I really just enjoy. I really like him as more of like the bad guy, but like he's just really enjoyable. So Belts here is going on and talking to Charlie, and he's to go on and be like on this computer just because he's like, oh yeah, your wife, Julie, Jenny. All right, like, oh, you have two kids. All right, are you still allergic to tuna? Yeah. All right. So here is where we go on, and we have Charlie who gives Belts here these blueprints, and he's to go on and say how he had to like specifically adjust them to have a certain kind of French archway, just because of the design of the building. It kind of just makes it look just more better looking, and so on and so forth. And so as the longer and longer that this progresses, we're assuming that Charlie is going to, I would hope, probably speak up here. But like as his boss is to further and further coincidentally talk to Charlie here, it kind of just feels horrible for Charlie to actually go on and open his mouth, because Belts is to go on and say to Charlie, it's like, well, yeah, you know what? Like, I really like you, Charlie, because if anything, like, you're not the money grubbing uh, other people that that work alongside you, like, uh, and Charlie's like, and like we consistently have Belts who's to go on and uh, like as Charlie had spent this whole weekend uh, forcibly working uh, on this project, Belts is like, "Oh, I went sailing," and so again, Charlie mentions how he spent the whole weekend. He's like, "Oh, well, I spent a whole weekend with a blonde," and like this and that, and just kind of like the banter back and forth between the two of them. It's just like, man, uh, like Charlie should definitely go on and just be like, "Well, hey, like I would like more money for the fact of the matter of it is that I'm kind of really putting my whole life into just this job and making real sacrifices here as you're going out sailing, and I would just like some more money. I would just like some kind of raise. Like at some point too, like I would like to say that like there'd be quite a bit of times where I too, when I would go into like kind of work environments, like I would eventually just be kind of curious at some points, like the length of time that I had kind of been there. Like I wouldn't say like when I would get there that it's all about like how much money I'm getting, but eventually it would just kind of get to the point where I'm like, you know what, I'm taking on like a lot more priorities or a lot more things that I'm doing, or I'm even giving titles and such, and they're not giving me any kind of more money. And it's like, well, it's good to have that as a like a resume to say that I had that title, but like really, if I'm gonna get a whole bunch of responsibilities on top of what all I'm already doing, it's just like it doesn't make sense at some point. Uh, but anyways, that's the retail business that you kind of get into, that you're just to go on and be like, well, like that's why you kind of leave a business like that, just because of just not to not to really just seem that like greed is all that really matters, but like because eventually like it just kind of comes down to like, okay, like this is a lot more than what I was doing yesterday, so a lot more. Um, or how there were to go on and be so few amount of people that are working on the staff than when I got here, and it just doesn't make sense anymore for one person to do the job of what was five or six people, and yeah, it just doesn't really make any sense. Or in this case, for them to give you a raise of like 5 to 10 cents, I'm just like, okay, well at least that's something, but I would have been nicer, a little bit better than that. It would have been a little bit sweeter than that. But then again, like when you go on, you get involved in companies that are just like the lowest of low things to just try to get you started somewhere. Yeah, and then those businesses go belly up. Yeah. But again, oh well. So back to the review. Anyways, so we make our way into Charlie not going on and asking for his raise, but Belts is to go on here and show Charlie these crystals that he had gone on and gotten. There were all these awards, and Belts is to mention how these awards are his prized possessions, and he's to go on and treasure them more than all of um, the money in China or something, and Charlie say all the tea. He's like, what? All the tea in China. He's like, oh yeah, well I guess, sorry. So as Belch just try to get Charlie out the door, realizing that he is to go on and usher in some uh, it seems foreign um, business making their way into this company, whatever it actually is. I'm assuming it's architecture of some kind. I don't know, whatever. But so uh, we have these foreign uh, people that are to make their way into this business, and they of course are going on and at some points needing a translator. And it's kind of funny how these people are go on and kind of mock both Belts and his company. uh, to just be like, well, hey, like, if he shovels, does he just kind of use both of his hands and like, and this and that? Like, is this guy really that dumb? And so, uh, and one of the guys ends up turning to the other. It's like, I think I'm gonna hate this guy. So it's like, so these guys obviously have an opinion about belts, and they're just kind of dealing with it. So as Charlie leaves the room, uh, we have the secretary that turns to Charlie here. It's like, well, hey, like, swing and a miss, and he's like, I didn't even get up to bat. So now we transition to now Ramsey and his ship crash landing on a place called Landing Pad. So Ramsey makes his way out of his ship to go on and find that the place that they land ended into is a disco. So Ramsey tries to go on and flip the flip the breaker to try to go on and see if any power is going to go into this place. And he all of a sudden sees all this disco and all this stuff, and so he's like, all right, like, he's like, Earthlings, ugh. So he's like, now where do I put that transformer? And then he walks off. So we then have Charlie that is kind of back to back looking at these cars, and I don't know why we always have this kind of weird scenario. I don't think this actually happens to me in to have ever had this kind of situation happen to me in real life. Where all these people are just kind of at this red light, and they're kind of like, all right, like, who's gonna make it, who's gonna go on, and who's gonna peel out here. So all the cars just shook off, and at some point we of course have Charlie who just kind of stuck to be waiting by this red light as all the other cars have gone on and drived so quickly that they have passed this light. And so we have Ramsey making his way into town, and he's wearing like head to toe his Suburban Commando, like a spaceship like outfit, and everybody's looking at him, and some women are like, "Wow," and some are like, "Ooh, wow, look at that big man," and this and that. And some people are going on and looking at this guy's outfit and just like, okay, like, uh, I guess you don't shop off the rack, do ya? Do ya, buddy? It's pretty funny here. So, so as Ramsey just starts to make his way through the streets of what I would like to call Calcutta, but I'm sure it's not actually that call of town. I always like to if I don't know a town name, I always just call it Calcutta because it just sounds funny. That's my imaginary town that I'm to, that I'm to always make up. So Ramsey makes his way to find that there is in the day a dog just kind of within this car, and it's probably hot out, and who knows. So Ramsey is just kind of upset that this dog is just be kind of sitting within this car, and like it's probably hot out. So to do the nice thing here, uh, like Ramsey is to think about just trying to get the dog out of the car, and all of a sudden there's this big beefy man that's to go on and just be quite a bit of upset um, that this guy is to be near his car, as well as also uh, to have the guy be shouting out his dog because the guy who owns the dog is to be going on and sitting out and having a dinner off to the side here. And so Ramsey goes on and spots the man who obviously has the dog in the car and gets right in his face. And then the next thing we see is that Ramsey has swapped clothes with this guy. And now the guy who had the dog is tied up to the car while the dog is eating the rest of this guy's dinner within the restaurant that is outside, it seems. So Ramsey is to see on uh this wooden pole that there is an apartment for rent nearby. So he starts walking. So cue back to now Charlie, who is to go on and realize that there are these guys that are fixing up these race cars that are going on to be a neighbor of Charlie's. And speaking of which, yeah, I definitely can understand this situation because I have neighbors who have like in their garage or in their driveway, there's like 5 or 6 different cars here, and I'm just like, dang, like this is a load of cars, and like it gets to the point where they're almost like parking out on the drive the street. They're kind of parking off to the corners of there just because of like how many cars they have. Um, but hey, that's them. That's what they can do. And so I'm just like, like I can probably understand how like something like this could probably happen even in my neighborhood. So we go on to have Charlie making his way home, and like these race cars are parked in front of his driveway, and so Charlie rips his head out of his car and like, "Hey, do you mind?" And we have the neighbor that goes on and yells at Charlie like, "Hey, just park across the street." It's like this dude has a driveway. This guy has a way to park, and you're just gonna just obviously just like, oh well, like just park across the street. Really? Because what can Charlie really do? So as Charlie is trying to get out of his car after he's parked it across the street. He all of a sudden sees this one neighbor that is driving way too fast down the road. And like this car, like if Charlie didn't get out of his car fast enough, like he obviously, like this car could have creamed him. This car could have obviously ran him over. And so luckily, uh, Charlie is to run back into his car, close his door in time for this car to pass by, and then just keel off. So Charlie finally makes his way back to finally get to his house after all of that, those issues and those problems. And this military guy is going on and barking uh, at Charlie uh, about how uh, he should always be dealing with strength and this and that and all these kind of just military-ish like words and so on and so forth because this guy is just kind of having like this military experience. He's in this military vehicle, this Jeep, and just kind of every day is just probably like a flashback of him kind of just reliving his army days or him just connecting with his army days. So and so Charlie is like not only with all the that he's had to deal with, he's dealing with that, and then like this guy, he goes on and he has this drink and he like flings it in the back of him, like maybe he has a drinking problem, and maybe that's like the airplane drinking problem, where if you've ever seen the movie Airplane, where Stryker goes on to like be talking to this woman, and all of a sudden he throws this drink off to his shoulder, and he's like, "Yeah, I have a drinking problem." Yeah, like same kind of thing here. So as Charlie makes his way home, he is to be met by a very uh, beautiful Jenny, who's to go on and be seemingly wearing a wig and just a provocative ensemble for Charlie here. And so Jenny used to go on to be like, "Oh, hi, honey." And so she used to go on and make her way to Charlie as Charlie has slapped his way onto this couch and he's just exhausted. So Charlie is to ask Jenny, it's like, "Well, have you been watching that Baby Ruth again?" And it's like, "Dr. Ruth." And so uh, Jenny is to say that Charlie had sounded so sad on the phone that she wanted to figure out a way to uh, kind of make Charlie a little bit more happier. So, like, cool, Jenny, try to do this, but if anything, Charlie's just like, you know what, like, I just had such a lousy day that I'm really just not in the mood. So, but Charlie goes on and is to just say that it's like, well, hey, all I need now is just kind of throw on my workshop gear and make my way to the workshop, and maybe I'll kind of salvage something out of this day. And by the time that Charlie makes it into his workshop, Jenny is to have a bit of news for Charlie. It's like, well, hey, like I've converted your workshop into a guest place. So, like, Jenny goes on and tells Charlie here that it's like, well, like now we're gonna make some money off to the side, and like you won't have to worry about going on uh to need a raise, because if anything, like we'll kind of just be making money off of this kind of bed and breakfast kind of thing. And so Jenny does go on and say that, well, Charlie, yeah, I do have this kind of closet here that still has your tools and what have you. And then so she opens up this closet and just all this just falls out of it. And it's to be all his tools. So he's like, wow, okay, all right. So Charlie is to go on and just make his way back into the house, and just like, I'm sure he's kind of been dealing with enough throughout this whole entire day, and he's grabbing this milk, and all of a sudden he's just hear this knock at the door. And so Charlie ends up opening it and being like, what am I going to be dealing with today? And we then have Ramsey coming with this paper. He's like, I'm here to rent the apartment. All right. I'm here to rent the apartment, brother. Slap. So, because with Hulk Hogan, you have to say brother at the end of everything, even though he doesn't go on and actually say brother. Like, it's to just be like uh, the knee jerking thing that we've kind of just assessed with whenever Hulk Hogan goes on and says anything, that he says brother at the end of it, just because of just the way of which that we've gone on to just know him and how he talks and his mannerisms and whatever. But anyways, so Jenny like is to go on and allow a guy like Ramsey to make its his way into this apartment. I'm not quite sure what the renting situation is or how Ramsey can actually be able to go on and afford being able to live there. Doesn't quite make sense to me. Because if he doesn't live on Earth, how is it that he has money? Like, I don't quite know how that all works. But maybe Ramsey just has stuff to just barter or trade. I don't know. Maybe because he works with this weird like weird special galactic force of some kind. Maybe like, and he does that throughout space or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's to just like, because he's not actually human. Supposedly, Ramsey's character is an alien. So yeah, maybe somehow they go on and they like the money is to I don't know how it works. Plus, also Ramsey doesn't actually get a actual job while he's on Earth. Don't know how. Yeah, not quite sure. Maybe he's to pay monthly, and I don't know. Uh, anyways, so Charlie is talking to Jenny, and here's where he goes on to mention, it's like, well, hey, like a guy like that, he's dangerous. I don't know if I can protect you if anything is to happen with him being here. And so all of a sudden we have Ramsey who is making his way to the dinner table, and he's grabbing both of the children and just kind of very unsure if these children are actually theirs or whatever. But so he's holding the both of them by the shirts, and they're both kind of like way up in the air here, and it's kind of funny. So both the parents are going on like, well, hey, take your hands off our children. And so he immediately drops them, and like both the kids are like, oh my god, that was cool. So that was pretty funny. So Charlie's looking at Jenny, and it's like, well, whatever, like everyone dinner. And so we start to go on to just see Ramsey here just scarfing away at this food as if he's probably rarely ever eaten, or this is the very first time he's probably had a home cooked meal in probably years. But anyways, regardless, like it's like just really interesting to just kind of see Ramsey going on and doing this role, and I'm kind of curious if this was like one of those where like hopefully they didn't have to like do this scene like a couple of times, because I know when it comes down to movies and just kind of the scenes of eating food, how you just have to consistently just like consume all of this food so much, and need to do like, because there's quite a bit of times where people go on and say that they had to have one scene where it's just kind of cut a certain way where they had to have like 30 different pieces of one thing of food, or 50 different pieces, or whatever. It comes to an ungodly number of just uh, assortment of items that they had to go on and eat during the scene, just because like they had to get a certain angle, or they had to go on and and somebody forgot their lines or whatever, or like the performance wasn't done just right or whatever. Yeah. So here is, of course, where Ramsey ends up saying that he's from France, and also Ramsey used to go on and ask like Kenzie, like, well, can I have more food? And so he's going on and just scarfing down more food and da, 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 da. So as Ramsey goes on and tries to get to more food, he smacks the chandelier. Uh, that of course is like right, like so far down by the table that like yeah, almost anybody could probably go on and try to get to a certain part of the table and probably smack into the chandelier. But with of course with how tall Hogan is, or Ramsey is in this movie, he smacks into the chandelier and he's just kind of caught in the chandelier a little bit. So uh, we transition here. So Ramsey makes his way into the guest house, I think is probably the more perfect word to say here. And Charlie's going on and peeking out the window at Ramsey because Charlie's just oddly suspicious of him. So Charlie goes on to look into the window of Ramsey, who is to unpacking his stuff, and we start seeing some very sci-fi-ish looking weapons that are to be tucked under his mattress. So as Ramsey makes his way out of the guest house to start to make his way through uh, the neighborhood, whatever this means, whatever this means, whatever the weird direction of which that I was slapping my hand all over the screen. We then have uh, Charlie that goes into the guest house because it seems that he is to kind of be very nosy about what he had seen there. And so Charlie pulls out the gun. He turns on the gun, he fires the gun, and realizes that the gun had made quite a bit of a hole within this. Well, not a huge hole, but still. Uh, Charlie has the laser go through the lamp, then through the wall, then notices off in the way distance that there's a race car that is to have gotten lit on fire. And Charlie's like, "Welp." So we then have the villainous characters here that are to go on and to have tracked down Ramsey's position, because it seems uh, that Ramsey's weapons can go on and have something traceable upon them, whether their weaponry is to be very distinct or whichever. Um, we have these villains who it seems are trying to track down exactly where these weapons are to go on and to have been gone off to. So that, of course, leads the bounty hunters getting into frame here. Bounty hunters who are both to be going on to be called Knuckles and Hutch here. And of course, Hutch is the Undertaker. You're going one-on-one with the Undertaker. Teddy Long is freaking great. Just the dance and just god dang it, Teddy Long. If you guys don't know wrestling, you won't know who Teddy Long is, but he's great. So So both Knuckles and Hutch here, I'm probably not going to know or remember who exactly is who. But the two of them make it onto the frame here, and they end up getting handed a wanted poster that ends up having a bunch of just numbers upon it, and it has a picture of what is to look like Ramsey, or in this case, Hulk Hogan. Like, you know who Hulk Hogan is. You know who this man is. It's Hulk Hogan. So, I think they look at the picture and then they crumple it up and then yeah. So, uh, but at some point, Charlie does go on and turn off the equipment, and so the bad guys end up turning the bounty hunters, and they're like, well, hey, at least we know what universe to kind of start looking in. Honestly, just kind of the room of which that they're kind of set up in, like, looks really cool looking. Just kind of like this weird, like, kind of futuristic, like, computer screen that has these kind of little things off to the side, and just like the setup of this room just kind of looks very interesting and very unusual. It's just kind of cool. Not quite sure exactly why this whole room was to go on and exist, or who the people that were going on and turning to these bounty hunters to be telling them what to do. But hey, very interesting indeed to see this kind of all play out here. But anyways, fast track here to the next morning where Charlie's going on and shaving himself, and I mean shaving himself, shaving his face. So, uh, so Charlie had gone on and, of course, seen this laser gun, and really after this, he's just like, should I tell my wife that we're living with uh some alien Rambo, or like, what should I go on and what should I tell my wife and kids? Like, uh, like, or no, wait, he goes on, he calls him like Darth Vader. He calls him Darth Vader. Like, uh, should I tell my family that Darth Vader is living in the back of my house? Uh, for Christ's sake, uh, it's no big deal, right? Like, I'll tell them after breakfast. Like, and so Charlie's like, yeah, should I confront Darth? And should I? I'll say it's like, hey, there's been quite a bit of a mistake. You have to leave. Hit the bricks. So Charlie is to go on and confront Ramsey, as Ramsey is taking these huge like uh huge industrial drilling machine like things, and parts of a table saw, and if you don't know, like these kind of big table saw things can weigh under like or can weigh over like 300 pounds, but like Ramsey here is like lifting a piece of it, so like it's probably still fairly heavy anyways. So Ramsey is going on and just kind of shucking these things like in his arms like they're nothing. And we're just like, good God, man, like these things are freaking huge. Like, to go on and realize that I've probably in my lifetime probably moved stuff like these, like these big huge drill things that would be like the size of a person, and to go on and see like this Hulk is just like pat 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 pat. He's lifting these like he would dumbbells. And so So Charlie's going on and trying to talk with uh, Mr. Ramsey here, and then Ramsey is like, "Call me Shep," and so Charlie's like, "Okay, Shep." So he's like, "Well, the thing is," and then all of a sudden we have his son kind of interrupt him, like, "Hey, Dad, like we gotta go to school, like let's go." And so Charlie's like, "Well, all right." So uh, so as Charlie's going to leave here, he's to try to tell his wife that he loves her, and kind of be like, "Well, like I just don't have the time to go on and talk to Ramsey about any of this." So he's just gonna go ahead and leave. So Ramsey, after going on and lifting these drill pieces and these items here, they even didn't quite even get the other thing that he's holding. Because looking at it now, it looked like a piece from a table saw to me. I have no idea what this is that he's holding. It's very just weird looking. And people can go on and correct me in the comments below, because whatever the heck this is. Anyways, so Ramsey is all of a sudden kind of hears screaming going off in the distance. So he's like, "Hey, I gotta see what this is." So Ramsey runs to Jenny's defense, and she is consistently screaming. And so Jenny gets thrown by Ramsey here to go behind the couch, and the two of them are behind the couch, just like, what the heck is going on? So Jenny is like, well, what's going on? Because Ramsey had grabbed her, and then Ramsey is grabbing her because he doesn't know what's going on. So Ramsey's like, well, what's going on? And so Jenny goes on to explain that she's watching some talk show, and uh, and it's Marsha Warfield, where it seems that the show is to tell her to kind of scream to get all of her anger out, or to get all of what she needs to get to out of herself, just out. Kind of like therapeutically talking about a movie that you were to go on and see, because then you can just kind of get it out of your head instead of just going on and just kind of thinking about the movie and contemplating your decisions of whether you liked or hated it or not. You can just go onto a video and just talk about it right here and right now. Very meta. So Ramsey is to go on and be like, okay, like, so you're screaming for not really any logical reason. Okay, whatever. Like, all right, like touche. So all of a sudden, the mailman ends up putting through the mail through the slot of the door. Because if people do not know, there are some times where some people had a mailbox and some people just had a mail slit through the door. Like, I'm sure probably no one really goes on and does that much of anymore. Like, I think that was probably during a time period. You can watch like the movie Uncle Buck, and the movie Uncle Buck has a door where it has like a mail slot. You can tell because Macaulay Culkin kind of continues to open it and it starts to look through the door slot, and then eventually uh, Shanice, I think that's the character. She goes on and be like, "Hey, like, I'm here to watch you." So, anyways, so we would go on to have Ramsey, who is very like afraid of the fact that this mailman is to be kind of just be chucking this mail through the door. So Ramsey ends up grabbing this guy's hand and pushing it through the door, and this guy is to be now be like pulled in through the door as Ramsey opens it. Ramsey has this knife, and Jenny like kind of pulls the two of them apart. It's like, well, hey, it's just the mailman. It's the mailman. So Ramsey is just like, okay, so like nothing going wrong here. So all of a sudden there ends up being this newspaper boy that chucks this newspaper, and it hits freaking Hogan in the chest. And I also kind of wonder how many takes that this took. Just for Hogan to be like, "Pah! Pah!" I'm curious how many times that this took. So Hogan is to be very upset that this guy hit him with the newspaper. So Jenny is now stopping Ramsey again and like, oh, it's just the newspaper boy. so uh so at this point Jenny is just like kind of giving up and she's like, you know what, like I'm just gonna go back inside. Because Ramsey will go on and just kind of see anything and just attack it. So it's like it's gonna get a really exhausting day if Jenny just kind of has to go through all this with him. So Jenny goes back inside, and so Ramsey takes the newspaper, shucks it, and it's like bullseye, smartass. So we then see the newspaper boy who's in this bush or bit of branch somewhere, and he's fallen over, and he's probably gotten concussed or whatever, and he's probably contemplating his life. So we then go on to see all these kids who are going on and skateboarding. So Ramsey doesn't go on and attack all these kids. That's not what's going to happen here. So instead, as Ramsey sees these kids skateboarding, and I'm wondering if the kid in the actual pink bandana is the exact same. Uh, no, it can't be. It can't be Charlie's kid because they just went off to school. So these kids must be ding dong ditching then. If they were supposed to go to school or whatever, I don't know. So, but for some reason, all these kids are here. So Ramsey is to go on and notice that this kid has a skateboard. So he's like, oh, well, I've never skateboarded before, so let's see if I can go on and perfect this without even to have been on a skateboard before. So Ramsey goes on, he takes one foot on the skateboard and he starts like, all right, I'm going to get going, I'm going to get going. And so all of a sudden, he then goes careening off and he falls backwards and he plah onto the cement with his back here. And so uh like we have the kids turning to Ramsey. It's like, well, hey, like my mother could last longer than that on that skateboard. So Ramsey goes on and takes the skateboard, flings it into the air, and this is going in atmosphere, baby. This is gone. This is gone. This is way far than any home run that has probably ever been hit in our lives. This is to be no wait. This is to be like Superman hitting that baseball in that movie with Superman, where he's smacking the baseball, and the baseball is like that is gone, and so that's gonna hit orbit. So the kids run away as Ramsey gives them the face. So Ramsey goes on and sees the Colonel here. I believe that's probably the guy that was in IMDb that I didn't quite see exactly who he was. Colonel Dusty McCowell. Let's go with that. So we have the two of them, and that it seems like the both of them are to have a bit of military experience here, and so we have the colonel that goes on and mentions that he was in the 44th, and Ramsey starts spouting out about uh, uh, his uh, his it's Vita 9 or whatever kind of goofy thing, and so we have the colonel is like, well, like the military sure has changed since 44. Okay, but yeah, so uh, that was where the 44 comes from. So uh, oh yeah, like I get, yeah, he does say that his name is Colonel Dustin McCowell here, and I just didn't really go into that. Yeah, and then Hogan goes on and talks about, or Hogan, Ramsey goes and talks about how he's the Palander of the Secret Strike Force 119, Supreme Doctorate of the rule of through Vita 9, and under the guidance of Zenuk Vivian. And so that was the guy that was in the early part of the movie. And Vita 9, huh? Things surely have changed since 1994. So, so now we're back. Charlie's gone on and had his long day at work, and he's desperately just trying to get home at this point. And he is again at a point where he's at this stoplight, and there's a bunch of cars. They're all revving their engines. He's like, "All right, like let's go, all right." So we again have Charlie who's trying to go on and trying to beat this light, and he doesn't. He's stuck again. So both Ramsey and both the Colonel here, both kind of just kind of sitting in this Jeep together, just having a good time, maybe sharing some laughs. And so the Colonel busts Ramsey with a bit of knowledge that sometimes you need to lose to win. And so we all of a sudden have Charlie here who, again, when he makes his way to his driveway, to his garage, what have you, he is to again be realizing that there are to be these race cars that are to be still parked in front of his house / driveway. So we have Charlie that jerks his head out of his car like, what the hell? And then he's looking at his neighbors, and his neighbors are just busting out laughing at this point. So Ramsey turns to the Colonel and it's like, well, that's not right. So here is where Ramsey goes on and pulls one of the race cars and he drags it off. So that way, then Charlie can go on and drive into his driveway. So this is to go on and be met by some hilariousness here, as the neighbors who are disgruntled, and there's about 4 of them here, they're all making their way to Ramsey, puffing out their chests, and we of course have like the lead neighbor guy who's like, you got any idea what these cars are worth? And the neighbor is like, do you have any idea what we're gonna do to you? This neighbor specifically had gone on and seen him act in Roadhouse. Cool. Like, it's cool to just kind of also see him in this movie. Like, I want to say I'd also seen him in no, wait, maybe it was maybe if it wasn't Roadhouse, maybe it was Son-in-Law. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, maybe it was Son-in-Law. The Yeah, maybe he wasn't in Roadhouse. Maybe he was definitely in Son-in-Law. That's where I probably remember him in. Anyways, either way, he was in some other movie. I want to get that straight, just in case everybody's like, "No, he wasn't in Roadhouse." Like, oh, okay, Son-in-Law. All right, okay. Anyways, so, but if anything, they say that the race cars were $3,000, $3,000, and so. And so the guy goes on and says again, it's like, well, do you got any idea what we're gonna do to you? And if we find any scratches on this car, and so we have Ramsey that goes into this whole thing of like, well, you're gonna pound my face, break every bone in my body, and feel and feed my remains to a warthog, and this and that, and and you're gonna drag me across a gravel road, and this and that. And he's like, is that about right? He goes on all this whole huge goofy thing and whatever, and so the guy's like, no, this is the 90s. We're just gonna sue you. You're gonna get willful destruction of property. Uh, like you're gonna get um, the labor that we're gonna have to go on and fix these cars, and like and we're gonna sue the pants off of you. and uh, and the guys in the back are like, yeah, give it to him, give him to the business, and yeah, and it's like, yeah, you're gonna be hearing from our lawyers. So it's this is kind of funny. So they go into the whole rigmarole. So Ramsey's like, what kind of world is this? So he's just like, like, oh well, like, find me, find me, and try to sue me because I'm gonna be out of this world in X number of weeks. So we then all of a sudden see uh, this car that we saw before that is just careening down this street, and we have Charlie that notices a kid named Mark and telling him to get out of the road. So Mark, of course, is skateboarding down the road, and there's a car behind him. So this car is definitely not going to stop for Mark. So we go on to have Ramsey and Charlie that notice both this kid. And so Ramsey is to run as quickly as he can, grabs the kid, and saves his life. And Ramsey is not satisfied with just saving this kid. He's going to go after that car. So Charlie is now running after Ramsey, like, oh my god, what is he going to do? So Ramsey hops over this fence, and I'm like, yeah. And then Ramsey is just booking it after this car. So Ramsey gets in front of this car, where immediately this car ends up going on and actually stopping because Ramsey's actually in front of them. What a miraculous thing. So Ramsey goes on to then flip this car and pulls the people from out of the car. And at this point, Charlie's like, oh my god, stop! Ramsey, stop! So or he calls him Shep, but I'll call him Ramsey here because to me, I just like the name Ramsey than Shep. Just Shep sounds weird to me. So Charlie tries to tell Ramsey, it's like, hey, come back to me with the house, like just forget, like you've done enough here. So, but Ramsey, after the kids are out of the car, he spins the car and it just looks cool. So let me kind of pull this a little ahead of myself here. So as Charlie makes his way back into the house with Ramsey, Jenny is to go on and make this cake for Ramsey for how he's been kind of helping out around the house and been helping people around the neighborhood. So Jenny thought it would just be nice to just kind of give Ramsey this chocolate cake here, where Ramsey just goes on and takes a huge chunk of it and then just starts eating it as the family wants to go on and like have some kind of photo all be done together. So while just Ramsey is just choking this thing down, and then all of a sudden he realizes like he takes a photo as the family is all gathering around him. So the next thing we see here is Ramsey is going on and starting to just make his way through the neighborhood. I think also that Ramsey is making his way back to the landing pad to kind of check on his ship. And there seems to be just things that just kind of spring up while he's doing this. So, because Ramsey just doesn't want to go on and just chillax and like he's just having this mindset of just like doing the morally good thing. Uh, Even though sometimes it's to be not just quite 100% right, which is just kind of comedically fun. So we go on to have a purse snatcher that is kind of done in way too dark of a scenario here that we can't really tell exactly what exactly is all going on. Uh, but we have a woman who is shouting that her purse is getting snatched and this guy is to run off. The next thing we see is that this same guy is over Ramsey's shoulders, and we have Ramsey that chucks the thief within this dumpster and then goes on to give this woman back her purse. And uh, and then so Ramsey's like, well, it's all there, ma'am, kind of thing. And so he goes on and hands her this purse. So he's like, oh, okay, all right. So uh, Ramsey all of a sudden is continuing to make his journey through this neighborhood. And all of a sudden, there seems to be this car that has this car alarm. And because Ramsey's going down to tie his shoe, and the car ends up saying, stand back, you're too close. And so Ramsey's just like, huh? So he's trying to figure out what exactly is going on, and he's looking into this car. And so the car is like, back off now. And so Ramsey is like, what the heck? So we finally go on to just have this car who's just having this car alarm just go off and driving a Ramsey crazy here. So Ramsey just grabs this item from out of this car, rips it out, and he all of a sudden realizes that this, I guess, is the thing where the car alarm actually is. So Ramsey takes this thing, and so that's when the car alarm is like, well, hey, you can stand as close as you want to. Like, please stop, please, no, no. And so it's kind of very funny here. So Ramsey does go on and smash the car alarm and then kills it. And the car alarm says, I've fallen and I can't get up. So Ramsey makes his way to a mime. A mime, it seems, is going on and doing the traditional, like, hey, I'm stuck in this box. Oh, what can I do? Kind of thing. Like, the mime isn't talking, but of course, you know what I'm saying here, that he's doing the traditional, like, I'm stuck in a box thing. And so Ramsey goes on to see this guy miming that he's stuck in a box, and he's like, well, it must be some kind of force field. And Ramsey turns to the mime and it's like, I'll get you out. So Ramsey cocks his fist back, punches the mime, supposedly breaks the force field. But yeah, the mime gets punched in the face. And so uh the mime is like, maybe I should have stuck to juggling. And funny enough, like this mime keeps showing up, and then Ramsey keeps trying to help him, but also it just keeps helping the mime get injured consistently. So Ramsey makes his way back to the landing pad, back to his ship, and Charlie follows him. So Ramsey makes his way into the ship, finding out that there's only more days to come, 21 Earth days, for a full recharge of this ship. So Ramsey goes on to be like, well, okay, I guess, I guess I'm just kind of just stuck. As like, yeah, like the ship is to have that same sentiment of like, well, you're stuck here. So Ramsey gets out of his ship and is to have like his certain key for this ship just kind of underneath the ship and just kind of walks away. So Ramsey leaves the landing pad and then Charlie quickly follows to make his way to Ramsey's ship. And Ramsey opens up the ship the same way Ramsey did and goes on into the ship. It's like, oh my god, wow, whoa, this is crazy. So while that's going on, we have Ramsey that is making his way into this arcade. And we have this kid who's just way too hardcore into this arcade. And so uh so this kid is going on of like, oh no, like he damaged my left deflector. And And so uh, and so Ramsey's getting way into this, like, well, use your phasers. Like, I can't, I'm in hyperspace. Launch the photon torpedoes. You're crazy. Dragos absorbs protons to get more power. Impossible. I thought only Zenitize could do that. Try boosting your ejectors. They're out. I'm doomed. It's over. And so, like, Ramsey just takes over the control and he's like, and he just goes on and continues on playing as the kid is like, forget it. No one can beat Dragos. And so, and, and so Ramsey's like, well, that's what they said about General Suter. And so, here's where Ramsey's going on like, give it up, Dragos, give it up, give it up, give it up. And so he's going on and he's working the machine so much so that the machine itself goes on and is to have this flap open, and then there's this white flag that just surrenders to Ramsey, and we're just like, okay, all right. So, like, this machine is working so overdrive that it's smoking and everything, and so we have the kid that turns to Ramsey, or it's like, you just saved the galaxy. And so the kid ends up turning to Ramsey. It's like, you must play this game a lot. And he's like, a game? What game? And so here's where Ramsey gets out of the arcade. And again, we're met by the mime again. And this mime is going on, and he's trying to just make his way up this invisible ladder. So we have Ramsey who's looking at this mime, and he's trying to get up this ladder. He's like, hey man, I can help you. So he grabs the mime and he chucks him up uh, the 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 building. And so at this point, like, the mime is like, you know what, I'm just gonna stay home at nights. Like, I'm just no, like, I'm not gonna, like, this guy is gonna keep on just hurting me or chucking me. Like, I'm just gonna get out of here. So so Charlie back with the ship. So Charlie's going on and just kind of just still at the helm of this ship. He's like, all right, nah, yeah. So he doesn't he doesn't fire off any beams or any lasers or anything. Instead, he goes on and is to look behind the ship and realizes that there's a bunch of gadgets here, and he starts turning them on. And he starts just realizing that one of them is like this grip thing, and he's like, all right, like this muscle amplifier. So he also goes on and is to use this one gadget that is to be these X-ray goggles, and he's like, oh my god, like X-ray glasses. So they look like binoculars to me, but they're X-ray goggle glasses things, but they look like binoculars futuristically. Also, funny enough, we end up having one gadget that is supposed to find the one gadget that they're supposed to track, and it's a PKE meter from Ghostbusters. The PKE meter thing was from, obviously, uh, like it looks like the same thing from the movie, the same exact thing. Like, they didn't adjust it, they didn't whatever, but like, I've actually honestly seen the PKE meter from Ghostbusters the movie used in quite a other different of sci-fi films at some point, and they don't call it a PKE meter. It's some other device that either tracks things or does something. So it's kind of ironic how they have that device just kind of in this film also. But again, let's move on here. So there is to be a woman that is going on, and she is in the rustles and in throes of heartache. Um, Heartache. I don't know what to say here. This woman is to be kind of captured by these two men, and they're to probably go on and take advantage of her. Who knows? And we never really know. Maybe they're to steal from her. Nothing is to be exact here. Maybe all three. The third being murder. I don't know. But so, as this woman, this damsel in distress, is to be needing help, crying out for it, we of course go on and have one hero that is to go on and make his way to try and save this damsel, and is to weirdly not be Ramsey this time. Instead, we have Charlie stepping in, and he's wearing the full-on Suburban Commando armor, and he is to go on and be like, "All right, let the woman go." The very traditional superhero like bit of dialogue here. And so the guy's like, "Well, who the hell are you supposed to be?" So we would go on to have Charlie that is to tell these guys that he has the strength of 10 men. And so the guy is like, "Oh, well, can you stop a bullet too?" And then Charlie's like, "Oh, stop a bullet. Oh, like so." The guy ends up whipping out a gun and fires upon Charlie, and it luckily hits his chest. I guess a part where there's armor, so it drops, and Charlie drops onto the ground and then starts to just try to rustle around. He can't go on and get out of where he's standing here. So, or laying here. My apologies. So they go on and they laugh about how Charlie just looks like a dumb turtle and he can't go on and get back up. So Charlie then goes on to just consistently just keep rumbling around, and then at one point he has to go on and kind of kick his boots together, and that ends up like kind of springing him back up because he like rockets off, and then he is flying into the air and he falls on top of the guys, and he knocks out the guys, and then the girl is to seemingly make her way to Charlie. It's like, well, thank you for saving my life. If there's anything I could do for you, and I mean anything. And Charlie's like, well, a good deed is its own reward, madam. So the next thing we see is both Knuckles and Hutch. They're in their like it looks like a very insect like cockroach like ship. I have no idea what if any of these ships have actual names, because when I was to go on and search it into Google, there is no answer for me of names of ships or anything. So like logically, I'm to just say that these are all just ships because I have no answer here. And then also, I think anybody will probably go on and tell you that I'm sure at some points there's some movies that don't have like in detail that much of stuff that they really thought out. Besides the design of what these ships are to actually look, to try to look slightly tweakingly different than any of the other stuff that is to be in films, to avoid copyrights or what have you. But anyways, so as Knuckles and Hutch make their way through this atmosphere to make their way possibly to planet Earth, they go on and notice within their screens out in outer space, they see this skateboard that is still flying off. And so, yeah, so Ramsey shucked that skateboard pretty hard. So Knuckles and Ramsey go on spot that they're pointing at a place that they're going to head to. Looky, looky, we're going there. So they obviously know this because, of course, Charlie ends up accidentally leaving one of his devices behind, and the devices ends up getting used by the thugs of which that were around Charlie in that whole situation there. But we see that there is a device, a weapon that is fallen to the ground that Charlie was to have had and just lost. So eventually they'll have to go on and retrace their steps to get that item back, and then that's where we get the PKE meter device uh, that is to try and track this device down. So Ramsey is to be on his bed, seemingly sleeping because it seems that this guy barely goes on and sleeps. And so Ramsey ends up like waking up with his eyes just wide open and makes his way out the door and is to just hear every bit of neighborhood that is kind of going on here. And he yells out, "Quiet, brother!" And, and that would have been hilarious. "Quiet, brother!" Anyways, so, but sadly, Ramsey is going on and hearing the cries of a young child. So Ramsey is to go on and look at this girl like, "What?" And so the girl's like, my cat, my cat." And so Ramsey ends up spotting this cat in the tree. So he pulls down this branch, and the girl ends up seeing the cat. And she's like, "Well, that's not my cat." And then Ramsey's like, "Oh, okay, all right." Well, he just lets the branch go. And the cat goes flinging out of the tree. And I'm like, good God, come on. Like, but like, I get that this is good comedy, but like, yeah, like, this bit kind of goes on more than once, but yeah, but it's kind of, it's funny, like, it's good comedy here, but yeah, it's just got the cat just kind of flinging into the yeah. Anyways, so here's where Ramsey goes on and he's walking through the town. He's like, "God, I hate suburbia." So Ramsey all of a sudden is to notice this old lady, just kind of trying to touch these cantaloupes, and this woman is just, this old lady is just consistently like just touching these cantaloupes, and so it's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Well, I'm trying to find the ripest of these cantaloupes." And so he's like, "Well, how do you know when one's ripe?" And so he's like, "Well, like if one is soft enough, then like that's the best one." So Ramsey goes on and is to take one of the cantaloupes and just smashes it into his hand, where the woman ends up getting like, phew, like she gets smacked with all the juices and all the the stuff. And so Ramsey turns to her. It's like, "Well, yeah, like, wow, like I found a good one." And then he walks off. And so we again go on to have Ramsey, who's meeting up with this mime, and now this mime ends up having this rope, and he's like trying to pull the rope here, and so like Ramsey's like, "Hey, like I can help you," and like, and so Ramsey's like, "Hey, I can give you a hand," and so the mime finally turns Ramsey. It's like, "Hey, it's just a gag. Like, you can have the rope. Like, just leave me alone." And so the mime runs off. And so Ramsey just follows the mime. It's like, "Get out of here. You're crazy." So Ramsey makes his way back to the landing pad. And so here's where Ramsey ends up finding out on his ship that there are bounty hunters after him. And he's like, "Bounty hunters, ugh." So Ramsey goes on to look at his equipment and realizes that someone had been in his ship, and is like, like, I think it could only be Charlie who could go on and probably have figured it out. So Ramsey makes his way to Charlie's building and finds Belt's secretary, where Ramsey is going out like, "Hey, I need to talk to Charlie now," and Charlie is in Belt's office. So and so the secretary, of course, of Belts is like, "Well, hey, you can't talk to Charlie right now. Either leave a message or take a seat." And so we have Ramsey who thrusts his fist down on the desk, and she's like, "I said take a seat." And so Ramsey ends up coming back with this seat and he slugs it over his shoulder and he brings it back to her. And it's like, oh, very funny. That's real funny. So finally, uh, let me pause here for a second. All right. So as all of these like foreign executives are coming from Belts' office, and then uh, we have Belts who's going on and making a joke about like, oh yeah, the thing that I ordered. All right, yeah, like he's pretending that this guy is to be here for a reason. So to just kind of make a joke here. So Belts ends up assuming that this guy is to actually be here because of the secretary. So Belts ends up kind of just making a joke of like, well, hey, like instead of having him here, like save this for your lunch hour, huh, Marge? I guess her name is Marge in this movie. So here's where Belts goes on and talks to Charlie, and uh, Charlie is supposed to finish these blueprints for his boss, so that way he can wow all these people. So at some point while Belt is going on and having this meeting, kind of schmoozing these guys over, Charlie's gonna have to go on and figure out these blueprints to just kind of wow these people. And so and Belt tells Charlie that he needs them done by tonight, and Charlie's like, "Tonight?" It's like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get them done by tonight. It's like, well, like, yeah, because we're having this party going on, and like, and I know it's gonna be tough, but so are you. So like, so Belt just kind of pushes him out, and gets him on his way. So uh, Ramsey goes on and grabs Charlie here. He's like, "Where's my N210 uh, Adelizer, whatever goofy gadgetry?" And we have Charlie's like, "Say what?" And like, "Did you follow me, my ship, brother? Did you sneak inside? Well, did you fool with my stuff, brother? Where is my 210 dianalyzer?" And so all of a sudden we have the secretary is like, "Hey, all right, drop him, Kong." So we have the secretary that is holding this gun in front of these men, and it's like, okay, I guess this is gonna be the one thing that's gonna stop like Ramsey. And so and Marge is just wanting to just throw this gun in here just so uh Ramsey doesn't get all of Charlie's blood on the carpet. So the two of them make their way outside, and so the so both so Ramsey's gonna have to go on and retrace Charlie's steps from the night before when he had the equipment, and so it's like, okay, where did you go on? You saved this girl from last night, and Ramsey's like, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this now, and Charlie's like, well, I'm working now, and Ramsey's like, I don't care, we're gonna do this now, and Charlie's like, well, yeah, I have a deadline to meet. It's like, so Ramsey ends up taking Charlie's car because Charlie's taking far too long to get into the car. And so Ramsey just rips the door off of the car. And so Charlie ends up seeing his car keys because he was trying to get the, the, the keys to unlock the car. And so Charlie, realizing that his car door is just on the ground now, he takes the keys out and he puts it in his car and he starts the car. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good, pretty funny here. So they drive off. So Charlie and Ramsey retraces their steps, and so Charlie used to tell Ramsey exactly where the item was, and so come to find out, uh, the item isn't where Charlie was to leave his last steps to be. So here is where we go on and have now Ramsey with another device to try and track the device they're looking for. And the device that they're looking for ends up coming out to be a freezing gun. So they go on, they get into the car, they track this down, and they end up making their way to this bank. And it ends up being Howard Savings and Loans. So as they make their way to this bank, they come to find that people are frozen there. There's a cop that has a gun out. He's frozen. They go into the bank. Everyone inside the bank, all frozen. And some of them have their eyes closed. Some of them open. Like, even the dog, there's this woman with two dogs in her hand that I thought was hilarious. That it's just like, she's just like, she has them like both on her side here, and it makes no sense uh, for her to actually just have her dogs in her hands like this. But you can also realize that both of these dogs are stuffed animals. You'd probably have to pause it just right to probably see all this, but like obviously, like these just have to be stuffed dogs here. But it's funny regardless. So the two guys that had tried to go on and grab that woman last night are now in this safe and they're trying to steal all this money. So here's where we go on and have Ramsey try and save the day here. Ramsey goes on and takes one of the thugs and thrusts him out of the safe. He goes on and takes the other thug and is to do this kind of like back suplex or this just kind of like I would much rather call it like a some kind of like yeah, you could probably call it a back suplex. It makes the most sense. Where the guy has like his arm uh, like draped around the guy's head, and then the guy ends up getting lifted and chucked. Like we could almost call this like probably like a almost like an angle slam too. For those of you that are wrestling people, probably a lot of people probably go on and state that this is to be like, what the hell are you talking about? Because people don't know wrestling terms. But and if anyways, I have to go on and do these things like I would. But if you go on and see the movie, me saying like back suplex will probably mean nothing to you. Because if you're not a wrestling fan, but maybe if you are a wrestling fan, you may know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so the guy ends up lifting this whole guy and kind of just and chucks him over this table, let's say. Somewhat breaks the table, maybe not. Not quite sure. But anyways, so we end up seeing the frozen gun on the ground, and Charlie tries to grab at it. So we further then see Ramsey that is wrestling with these guys, and we have at one point where one of the guys is to try and choke Ramsey out here. So we have at one point where the villains get to getting the weapon back, as Charlie, we come to find out, ends up getting frozen here. So as this gun is to be blasting away, assuming that it is going to freeze Ramsey here, we'll find out that Charlie is to drink some weird green concoction that he ends up calling antifreeze. So it's like, did he legitimately drink antifreeze? That's gross. But so Charlie downs this green, unusual substance that he calls antifreeze and starts beating up this thug. And after going on and getting the weapon away, he then goes on to find Charlie, and Charlie is now frozen. So we find that the bounty hunters have made their way to this bank. They've crashed into here. Uh, Baffling and confusing Ramsey here. We come to find that Ramsey ends up going on to having our villains to be shoved back into this vault, and Ramsey closes the vault and then grabs, uh, of course, Charlie's body and hauls like crazy out of there. Ramsey goes on to explain to Charlie that a lot of people who are going to have gotten frozen here are going to wake up with a really bad headache. And funny enough, when Charlie does get unthawed here, he's like, man, I understand exactly what you said about that whole bad headache thing. But so the next thing we see is Ramsey just driving through just normal traffic, and Charlie is now just like, he's just frozen. He's just there. Just luckily, I guess this car seems to have a sunroof. That's what it looks like. Um, as Charlie is just now standing, just out of this car. So back to Ramsey's ship at the landing pad. So Charlie finally unthaws and ends up going on and saying to Ramsey, he's like, well, yeah, I can uh, understand what you said about the headache. And so Ramsey's like, okay, it'll pass. Uh, so Charlie asks Ramsey, it's like, well, hey, did we get that thingy back? And Ramsey's like, yeah. And it's like, all right, now we can rest easy. And Ramsey's like, well, yeah, like, except there's just another problem. And Charlie's like, well, what's that? And it's like, well, a couple of leeches that make their living off the blood of others. And so Charlie's like, investment bankers? and so Charlie's like, Ramsey's like, no, bounty hunters. And it's like, bounty hunters. Like, you mean from up there? And so Charlie's like, wait a minute, like, bounty hunters? Like, you said we were the only, you were one of the good guys. And Ramsey's like, well, I am, but like, um, but he is to go on to realize that, of course, like, for every good guy, there's also to be an evil tyrant named Suitor that is to be planned to rule the world, the universe. Rule the universe? Yeah, rule the universe, because he's already dominated certain worlds. So, and so Ramsey goes on and explains that like Suitor has a has a lot of devoted followers, swore to follow him even after death, and so on and so forth. So Charlie says, like, well, you're some kind of space warrior, right? From where? And so, uh, and like, do you do good, like some kind of superhero? Do you belong to some kind of space army? So, uh, and so Ramsey's like, well, hey, this isn't some cultural powwow here. The killers are loose on the streets. And so Ramsey tells Charlie here, it's like, well, yeah, like, thinking about it, like, these people have just an easy trigger finger. Like, if anything, like 10 minutes of them in this world listening to ice cream trucks, and they'll probably just lose their minds, and they'll level this town. So we got to do something quick. So the next thing we see is that the two guys are now within this just married car that they commandeered, and they're at this drive-through called Surfin' Burger, and so the drive-through is going on, and is to go on and be like, well, hey, would you like the Wipeout Burger? Would you like the Dude Burger? And then all of a sudden they notice, like, oh, like, you guys have gotten married. Oh, well, that's cool. Uh, you two look cute together. Like, we have a special honeymoon burger for just newlyweds like yourself. And then all of a sudden, pow! We get the gun that goes off, and the the head of the fast food drive-through thing ends up exploding. And so it's like, all right, okay. So if you would think that, like, if the evil people can go on and track, honestly, um Shep's devices, you would think that, like, Shep could also go on and track their devices. You'd think that could be a possibility of how we can kind of have Shep kind of figure out where these guys are. But anything also, there ends up being a bit of a mistake here. Whereas Ramsey tries to fix his ship, all of a sudden the ship ends up kind of exploding a little bit, just a little bit of explosion. And so Ramsey is thinking that there could have been a way for him to try and get out of here and maybe escape. But now he realizes that since his ship is seemingly no longer operational, unless he has some kind of crystals that eventually Charlie knows exactly where they can go on and get these things. Uh, Ramsey is going on and telling Charlie now that they have to fight, and that Ramsey is gonna have to need Charlie to help him out here. And Charlie's like, yeah, I'd be the last person that you probably want me to help you. So Ramsey gets all of his armor and brings it to the guest home, and so Charlie is turning to Ramsey here. It's like, what do you want me to do? And Ramsey is saying, like, well, you're obviously going to be the decoy. You're going to wear all of my armor, and while they fire at you, like, I'm going to counterattack them, and I'm going to take them down that way. And Charlie's like, yeah, about that, about them firing on me. like, he's like, I don't think so. Like, I'm just a landlord. I bring you an extra bar of soap when you need it, and that's about it. Like, perhaps, like help stop an occasional bank robbery, because we already just gone on and done that. But being a target for intergalactic bounty hunters is a little bit out of my line here. Like, and so here's where we go on. We have Charlie that's going off, and he's just like, I was frozen today. It's great. So but Ramsey chimes into Charlie with, like, well, hey, like all this, it's your fault. And like, if that device had not kind of gone out to where it had gone out, then they would be in this predicament. Uh oh, here's where Charlie calls Ramsey an alien Rambo. What the hell am I supposed to know? You were, or how the hell was I supposed to know you were some kind of alien Rambo? With psycho enemies. uh, but Ramsey is going on and telling Charlie here. It's like, well, hey, like, What kind of man are you, anyways? Your planet, your family, it's all in jeopardy. My family, my planet were fine until you got here. Um, and brought your intergalactical grudge match here. And so Charlie ends up saying that Ramsey ended up putting his family in danger, not the other way around. Uh, and technically, Charlie looks at Ramsey. It's like, well, yeah, all these guys want is you, and after you're dead, like no one's gonna care about anyone else. So, and here's where Charlie goes on and says, "I was frozen today." Anyways, so uh, Ramsey turns to Charlie. It's like, you know what? Okay, you win. Like it's not your fight, and so Charlie's like, you know what? I would be glad to go on and try to help you any way I could, uh, but I'm a man with a family here, and so Shep is like, well, forget it. Like it was a million and one shot anyways, and I'll just fight them myself. And if I lose, at least they'll leave your planet, and they'll have to take my body back to the reward anyways. And Charlie turns around and he's like, well, does it have to be that way? And here's where Ramsey says like, well, unless you have 40 pounds of this the crystal. And then Charlie's like, huh, crystal, you say? So Charlie ends up saying belts, and so they make their way back to uh to Charlie's boss's office. So again, we have Belts, who's going on and having this big lavish meeting, this big lavish party. I mean, he's like a meeting. This guy just kind of talks people to death, and that's all Belts really does. So, because he has nothing better to do. So, Ramsey and Charlie make their way into the party, and they're to be met by uh, Belts' secretary, where she starts to go on and she's like, man, this party kind of sucks. And if anything, like I would much rather be watching football. And Ramsey's like, football, and so the secretary's like, yeah, big beefy men and big beefy Merlin men beating the crap out of each other, trying to score, and this and that. And so uh, and so Charlie rips Ramsey away from this woman, and so Ramsey turns to Charlie. It's like, well, hey, what did you do that for? Like we're having a pretty good conversation there. And so Charlie's like, the crystals, the universe, like you staying alive, like come on, let's go. So like in this elevator, they kind of have a heart to heart between one another, and so Ramsey's like, you know what, I've spent so much time trying to save the I've spent so much time saving worlds that I never really got to live in any of them. It's like, well, like sometimes I wonder why, and so Ramsey turns to Charlie. It's like, you know what, Charlie, you kind of got everything going for you here. You got a, you got a family. You got friends. You got a neighbor that hates you. You got everything, Charlie, and I mean everything. So, we go on to have both Ramsey and both Charlie, and they're trying to get to the crystals, and they da, 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 uh, they have to figure out where it is in the office because Charlie doesn't exactly know because the place where it's supposed to be isn't where it is now. So Charlie remembers the X-ray glasses, so he takes the binoculars of the X-ray glasses, and so he uses them to try to figure out where these crystals are within the building. So as that happens, we have the bounty hunters that land their ship on to this building. So because we're gonna have to remember that because it's gonna come up later uh, when Ramsey leaves. So we go and have Belts who makes his way with these foreign executives to to look at all the crystals, and Belts is going on to make a joke about how the room that they're in, looking at all these crystals, the rooms aren't quite done yet. So he's making a joke about like, well, hey, this is gonna be this guy's office. Ha 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 ha. Isn't that funny? Ha ha. Yeah, like anyways, uh so Ramsey and Charlie find out where the crystals are, and so they realize they need to get rid of Belts and these foreign executives. So Charlie goes in there, talks to Belts, and so Belts ends up talking to Charlie. It's like, well, hey, did you make that those alterations I specified? And Charlie's like, sure, sure, yeah, yeah. Like I left them down in the car, and Belts is like, the car, like bring them to my office. And Charlie's like, okay, all right, okay. So and so here's where so Belts goes on and says like, I almost kissed you, but I wouldn't. And so Belts is like, well, ready everyone? So he's going to the office. So Charlie and Ramsey are scrambling. They're getting this bag. They're trying to get all the crystals. And as they go on to try to get out of there, they of course be met by what? The bounty hunters. Both Knuckles and both Hutch. So I think Hutch is actually Undertaker. Uh, Calloway? Anyways. So and as both Ramsey and Charlie are trying to leave, oh, I messed up a little bit here. Like the bounty hunters do come, but it's a little bit after this second here. So Ramsey and Charlie try to leave, and then the secretary comes in with this big honking gun again. Like it looks like a 44 Magnum. Did I fire 4 shots or did I fire 772? Do you feel lucky, punk? So as the secretaries to hold up both Ramsey and both Charlie here, all of a sudden from behind, the bounty hunters crash their way in here, and they end up turning their boots on, and their boots light up. Okay, so because also they're pulling out there's this schlock full of just bullets here and bullets here, just kind of the traditional just kind of action thing where they just have to have a line of just bullets that are just having these like belts of bullets that are on their just chest here, and they pull this like weird unusual ripcord of a thing, and so it's very weird, very unusual, and they're like blasting away here. So now there's this like shoot fight thing going on here, and then we also turn around and Ramsey ends up going on and trying to hit these guys with this metal bar, and one of the guys goes on Knuckles, ends up taking the bar. He takes it and he bends it. I'm like, yeah, like this thing that they're bending a lot of people will probably go on and say like, oh yeah, like anybody can go on and bend a thing like that. This is rebar, like this the rebar or whatever. Um, this thing that they're trying to bend, even though I'm sure they rubberized it or whatever, they goofily, but these guys are really strong also, so they really bent it. Come on, like I could naturally assume that the Undertaker can go on by, yeah, just yeah, but I think Hogan, I don't think did it. Come on, yeah. So Knuckles goes on and bends the thing and just kind of bends it this way into like a horseshoe because the kid freaking yeah, like when I was in retail, like I'd gone on and at one point, like they gave me these like metal pieces and like they wanted me to go on and I think like use a like a hammer or some goofy thing to try to like bend them or whatever and then throw them away or chuck them or whatever. And I was like, you know what, if I can just bend all these, like I'm just gonna go on and I'm just gonna do that, just to make this quicker. And so like I don't know if I did it because they told me to, or I just did it just because of like, well, hey, if they're gonna throw these things away anyways, I'm just gonna bend the shit out of all of them. And so because they were throwing them away either way. I don't remember if I was told to bend them. I don't know what. It's been so long ago. It's been years since me needing to remember this story. But so I started just bend these things, these metal pieces, and like the guy that I was working with, like he's like, "Oh my god, that's steel! You're like you're bending steel," and I'm like, whatever. Like, like I told them like, well, they told me to bend this, so I'm just bending it because they told me to do it. So they're like, well, okay, well, I guess you can just do that. So like I'm like, yeah, I didn't think it was a big deal, so I just kept bending it and chucking it and whatever. Um, but yeah, uh, but not to say any of my feats of strength because I'm sure I can't do it now. Like, I'm sure my grip strength isn't anywhere near where it used to be when I was in like retail doing those ridiculous jobs where I had to like lift table saws and all this garbagey crap that like I probably would not be able to do now. Um, I probably could move I probably still could probably deadlift pretty a decent amount of weight, but like I don't think I can like have the grip strength that I had before, really. But anyways, it's my life. Anyways, back to the movie. That's why these things are 2.5 hours long. So they end up giving this bar back to Ramsey. And so Ramsey is like, oh, well, I'll bend this thing. And he bends it into a bunny. And it's like, all right, like very just Looney Tune-ish. And so Hutch, Undertaker ends up taking the bar and he just grabs it and just chucks it. So Hutch goes on and he is to like snap his feet together and he goes flying and grabs Ramsey and takes him into a wall and we now see Hutch with just a bunch of like post-its on his face and like good comedy here. So we all of a sudden have Hutch who goes on and has like all these nails, and he goes and like all these nails are just around Hogan here, and it's pretty funny. So as it seems there is to go on and be a final blow, as Hutch is to have this knife come out of his arm, and I'm kind of curious if like Hutch did have to go on and have to like kind of like just take his arm of his and have it go like kind of like shucking out, or maybe he like had to like move his arm a certain way for this knife to go out. I don't know. Like I would have to just be curious of how Undertaker here got the knife to come out. Or maybe they stopped the screen and be like, hey, put the knife on his arm. All right, go. Do that. Goofy. Anyways, so, uh, but if anything, freaking Undertaker in this movie, crazy. Uh, so, so Ramsey says, for a big guy, you're kind of you're kind of light on your feet, and so we have Ramsey who goes on and takes these paper clips and puts them into Hutch's feet, and all of a sudden Hutch goes just careening through these walls. I'm like, oh my god, Jesus, man! Like you're just seeing him, and he's like, and he's like, pow, pow through the walls. I'm like, oh my god, Jesus! Like I'm sure that probably hurts like a mother, but who knows? If anything, we would have to ask the man who freaking went through that. But yeah, but he's like, and he's like freaking flat, 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 going through every single one of these floor, ceiling, and I'm just like, good grief. And so we all of a sudden have Ramsey, who's to realize that that Knuckles is to go and be underneath him. I'm not quite sure what happened, what Ramsey exactly did to Knuckles to kind of get him out of frame here, but it doesn't matter. So Ramsey is pulled by Knuckles underground here into this almost like boiler looking room here. And so Hutch, again, Undertaker, he goes through so many, I think, floors that he then goes on and is to crash through this bathroom. And so we then just see Hutch coming out of this bathroom with a toilet over his head, and I'm just like, and this is good. This is good comedy. Just good work, everybody. So, like, regardless of how, like, a lot of people could just be like, ha ha ha, goofy, funny, what, like, no, like, everybody's just kind of trying their best to just make some good laughs out of this movie, and it's working. So, I feel. Anyways, so Ramsey is facing off against Knuckles here, and we have that going on, and then all of a sudden, after Ramsey goes on and tries to take Knuckles out, he then sees that that Hutch is coming from this elevator, and he's taking this toilet off of his head. I'm like, how is it with the toilet on his head? He knew where the elevator was. Coincidence? Who knows? But so Hutch takes his toilet from off of his head, and like, you're dead, Ramble. And so Hutch goes on and says, "You're dead, Ramsey," with this kid voice. And so Ramsey is going on like, well, no wonder you guys don't talk, brother. I gotta throw in the brother in there all the time just for you to know it's Hulk Hogan talking. Even though he doesn't say brother throughout this entire, he didn't say brother once in this entire movie. It's just funny. So Ramsey is choking Hutch here. They go flying because boots, and so they are now at this point here where they're on this like table that has these wheels on them, and so Ramsey is grabbing this pole. They're swinging, swinging, swinging around. I'm like, good God, uh, like this scene here. What a piece of work. Like, man, like I'm wondering how much of a hard, a vicious process all of this was to film all of this stuff. Um, because I'm just curious. But so we have we have the bounty hunter that ends up going flying into this wall, and Ramsey's like, "Game over, you lose." Honestly, like so much is going on in this scene, like I like completely lose track of where exactly all of it's going, because there's so much going on here. And also, I'm sure I lost track of like what was going on with Knuckles half the time because I'm like, ah, like I didn't know exactly what happened with Knuckles to completely take him out there, but I was just so focused on Hutch a lot more, just because Undertaker, honestly, sadly enough. But uh, so Belts is going on and distracting these foreign executives by just going rattling off this crap just over and over and over again, like I'm doing throughout an hour and a half of time. And so, but I'm being honest about it, just being honest. Uh, so since now Ramsey and Charlie now have the crystals, Ramsey is telling Charlie, it's like, well, hey, I'm just going to get the heck out of here. Like, I'm going to get in my ship and go. And Charlie turns around and it's like, well, hey, why don't I just take you to the doctor? And Ramsey's like, no, I just put you and your world into more than enough jeopardy. I'm just going to get the heck out of here. So Charlie's like, well, hey, you just waxed those. He says waxed. Doesn't, like, does that sound does that sound good to anybody? Like maybe that was just Christopher Lloyd's just improvisation instead of just saying killed or something like that. Maybe because of the PG or the whatever rating it was in this movie. Like Charlie was to try to go on and just say like, well, you can't say killed, so come up with some kind of like destroyed or come up with some kind of phrase here. And then bizarrely, they came up with the word waxed. Just like, I guess that's just a different term of murdering somebody. Murgering, as I like to say, because it's a goofy word. Instead of murder, it's merger, because you're merging someone into the afterlife because they have a life, then they're going to go in the afterlife. So that's a merger. To have them go elsewhere because they're going to die if there is an afterlife, and who knows. But and then also you have murder, and then also I don't know. I just like the word merger. It's just funny. It's just weird. And then I have to go on and explain the goofy word of which that I said because I've probably said it 200 times and no one has ever gone on to ask that question of what merger is. Why do you have to say merger? Why do you have to say hospital? Why do you have to say eval? Because it sounds funny in my mind. And no one has ever questioned that because no one probably ever really cares. Probably everyone can go on and be like, yeah, he must be some foreign guy that speaks this foreign language. And like, no, I just say that just because it's fun. It sounds fun to say eval and hospital and merger instead of all those other words. Because I'm a goofball. Anyways, let's go back to the movie here. So, uh, because Charlie used to try to say that maybe since Charlie used to go on and wax those two guys, still a goofy word, that maybe it would be okay if Ramsey just kind of stuck along a little bit more and then also got medical help. But Ramsey is stating that it's like, well, the longer that he's going to go on and stay here, there's just going to be other bounty hunters that come. and uh, Ramsey can go on and put Charlie more in danger. So that's probably why Ramsey is thinking about leaving here. And so, but Charlie's like, well, hey, you just told me about how like you spent so much time saving so many worlds that like you're thinking that it's right about time for you to go on and live in one. So why not now? So, but the clear consensus here is that Ramsey is leaving, and so Ramsey turns to Charlie and says, "Well, hey, like I want you to go back to my place to make sure that I'd gotten everything before I leave." And if anything, Ramsey turns to Charlie. It's like, "Hey, Charlie, one last thing, thanks." And then so he goes back into the landing pad. So, uh, so we have Jenny, and she's at home here, and we then go on to find that some shadowy figure is to also make his way into uh, the Charlie's family's home, Jenny's family's home, whatever this Whitcox family. I don't know what their last name is. Wilcox, yeah, I think that's it. Family home is. We have this shadowy figure going on and grabbing this picture. It's like, aha, Ramsey is here. He's lived here. All right. So as Charlie makes his way back into the household, he goes on and calls out for Jenny, and Jenny doesn't seem to answer. And then all of a sudden, bursting through the door, "Oh, Charlie!" And the kids are like, "Daddy!" And so Charlie's like, "What's going on, kids? Why are you so like? Why are you so scared? Why are you so frightened? Why are all the lights out?" Is probably what should have been the real question here, but none of that is to go on to be said. All of a sudden, out of the shadows comes General Suitor, and Charlie, of course, doesn't exactly know who this Darth Vader lookalike is to go on and be, or Emperor Palpatine. Your lack of fear disturbs me, Charlie. No, so that would have been funny if the guy actually did sound like that. I would have been a lot more appeased by this. If we would have straight up had this guy seem very much like General Palpatine, I would have been freaking like lit about all this. But we just have this kind of just uh, wish Emperor Palpatine here, without the electrical powers and force abilities. Sadly enough, so that would have been cool. So Charlie turns to the weird General Suitor, like, "Who are you? What do you want?" And we, of course, have General Suitor like, "Well, General Suitor, at your service." "Suitor, you are supposed to be dead." "I'm so sorry to disappoint." "And you, I take it, are the partner." Uh, Partner Charlie, or partner Charlie. Um, Jenny says, "Partner Charlie, what are you talking about?" And uh, and Charlie turns to Jenny. He's like, "Well, I was trying to help Shep escape from the intergalactical bounty hunters." I'm gonna say intergalactic some point, right? It just sounds intergalactical bounty hunters just sounds bizarrely more enticing for me to go on and say, but I should actually say intergalactic bounty hunters. Bah. Anyways, so here's where Charlie breaks it to his family that Shep was an alien warrior and who followed his this man's attempt at ruling, who foiled this man's attempt at ruling the universe. Uh, and so Jenny turns to Charlie. It's like, "Are you serious?" So fast forward here to now have Ramsey trying to fix his ship, and Charlie making his way back to Ramsey because there has to be a whole confrontation to kind of finish up this film. So Charlie ends up making his way back to Ramsey, and so Ramsey's like, "Oh, hey, good, Charlie, you're back." And so Charlie's like, "I'm sorry, Shep. I had no choice. I said I." And so Ramsey's like, "Well, I said I don't do goodbyes." And so General Suter comes in and like, "Well, I insist," or I insisted, and Randy's like, "Suter." So, uh, so Suter ends up saying, "Did you think I was so stupid not to have planned for every contingency?" Yeah, we just have to say this bad guy. It's not like he was just so easy to go away in the first 10 minutes of the film, right? Plus, also, we have to have some kind of climax, and since this guy had bizarrely turned into some weird, huge rage monster by the beginning of this movie that we barely got to see, we got to see the rest of this kind of just monster suit that ends up coming out of the end of this film, where Ramsey used to have to go on and face off against this lizard man for some goofy reason, and I'm talking way too quickly for reasons I don't quite understand, and oh my god, I'm gonna have to explode! Yeah. There were many gunnerly baubles on that ship, you know, whatever that means. So, uh, so Ramsey, while it seems that Suter is just blah 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 talking away, Ramsey ends up getting into a ship and ends up having his gun on his ship just kind of ready to go to blast Suter here, and Ramsey is to kind of play a little bluff here because, of course, the whole rest of the Wilcox or whatever family. I should probably have looked that up. I was right, bizarrely. I didn't think I was, but I was, bizarrely. I've only looked at the name briefly once at some point. But anyways, so Suter ends up grabbing one of the kids, like, well, hey, like, you'll definitely not go on and let one of these family members uh, die, will you, Ramsey? And so Ramsey goes on and just to say, it's like, well, that family means nothing to me. And so he starts to blast the gun and tries to shoot Suter here. And so we would go on to then have, finally, Ramsey does get out of the ship. He does whip out his gun, and Suter ends up telling Ramsey, it's like, well, hey, I didn't come to this planet anyways to swat flies. And so Suter lets the Charlie family go for there to be a showdown between both him and Ramsey as Ramsey drops his gun. So Suter says, this is pleasant. I've dreamed about this moment ever since you blew up my ship. I didn't like that. How fitting then. The start of my rebuilding, that your death will be the catalyst to ultimate power. So that's how you're gonna, so this is how you're gonna do me in. Bob bore me to death with speeches. Oh, unfortunately for you, you're going to die much more painfully. So, we of course get the long-winded speech of the villain that is to go on and drag things out. And so, what, of course, Suter doesn't know is that Ramsey had gone on to put a self-destruct device on his ship. And so it's starting to go off in a certain number of minutes. Ramsey goes on and realizes that the whole Charlie family needs to be outside so they won't go on and get destroyed here. So, and then before Ramsey goes on and leaves his ship, he's like, well, sometimes when you gotta win, you gotta lose. And so Ramsey thinks that he's gonna sacrifice himself just so that way Suter can finally be killed here. So Charlie realizes that he needs to go back to help Shep here, and Charlie's realizing that if Charlie doesn't go on and help Shep, that Ramsey may be left to die. So Jen and Charlie have a good hug here, and Jenny says like, "Well, hey, like come back to us because we need you." And so Suter goes on to start blasting away at Ramsey and just doing a little bit of just like stress on Ramsey's part here, or adding stress to Ramsey's part by just kind of shooting around him. And a Suter is like, "Well, this is so much fun than I had imagined. So few people in life live to expectations. Don't you find? I wonder how killing you is going to feel, Ramsey." He didn't say Ramsey, but I added it in there. Uh, how does it feel, Ramsey? Just a maniacal villain voice, that of which I always pull out. As I like to, for enjoyment. So, as we would, of course, have Charlie come back into the fold here and start to fight off Suter. Oh, no, wait. As Charlie comes back into the fold, and Suter shoots Ramsey, and Ramsey falls over here. Charlie comes to Ramsey's aid and is to check that he's okay. So Suter then comes back out, and Suter tells Charlie, it's like, well, he is finished. And you're just starting. And so Charlie ends up saying, "You son of a," and then he runs to Suter and starts wrestling with him. And Suter then kind of swats Charlie away. It's like, whatever. You're just an insect. You're just a nothing to me. Uh, what do you hope to do to me, the almighty Suter? With my bare hands, I will crush you. And so we have uh, Charlie here that grabs one of the gauntlets from Suburban Commando armor, that I like to just go on like Suburban Commando armor, this thing, the gauntlet, and he puts it on and he crushes, and I mean crushes, Suter's dick. Just crushes that bad boy. He's like, ooh. And so all of a sudden, Ramsey is like, Charlie, no. Charlie, get out of here. Because Suter goes full on dark side and green eyed, and then he rips out his skin and is turned into all of this monster, this whole big lizardy looking thing. And it's pretty big, pretty buff, pretty freaking huge. And so it looks like freaking giant Gonzalez size. That's how big this guy is. Anyways, probably any number of people like, yeah, I know who exactly that was under that suit. Whatever. Anyways, moving on. So Ramsey tells Charlie to get the heck out of there as Ramsey tries to fight against Suda here and now this lizard form. I should call him Lizard. Slithers. Slithers! Mr. Slithers again. So Ramsey tries to take this pole and smack it against Suitor, and it just breaks, and he's like, oh crap. So we have a point here where Ramsey goes on and thrusts Suitor, lizard form, against the breaker or electrical wiring of this landing pad. And Mr. Slithers, I mean Suitors, goes on to thrust his back into this and ends up getting electrified. And I'm like, well, of course, that has to be the obvious way of just destroying this whole thing. So now at the ticking time bomb of self-destructing ship, Ramsey goes on to just be like, I'm trying to block myself from the electricity and my eyes and what have you. So the timer goes to 15 to then 8. So Ramsey doesn't have enough time to spare. Charlie is to be thrusted over the shoulder of Ramsey here, and the two of them run out of there. Well, technically with Ramsey over Ramsey shoulder, you know. Ramsey runs out of there. The whole landing pad explodes. It's okay. There's an extra ship off to the side with the bounty hunters, because again, foreshadowing to eventually what's going to happen towards the end of this film. So Ramsey drops Charlie's body, and so the family all circles around Charlie, and so Ramsey goes on and tells the kid, it's like, well, yeah, like, your father, he took out Suitor with his own bare hands, like kind of like what I said before about the both bare hands. And it's like, yeah, your dad is some kind of guy. So, and Jenny tells Charlie, it's like, you're the finest man I've ever known. And she's like, don't you ever do anything like that again. Yeah. So, and then the kids are like, way to go, Dad, you're the greatest. Yeah. Anyways, so we now have Belt that is now like his bow is untied, like his suit is just disheveled for the number of just long stretch of just them talking about now Godzilla and King Kong movies, and because Belt is trying to figure out how to still distract these people for waiting for when Charlie's going to arrive with these blueprints, and he never will. So instead, Charlie arrives, and then Belt is like, where have you been? This better be good. Make it good. Make it fast. This reminds me of Negan from The Walking Dead, where he's looking at the girl to make him lemonade. He's like, make it good. Make it good. Anyways, so because of course, like, Belts is ticked at this point because he's like, well, yeah, like, we've been waiting up all night for you. So like, these people are wanting to go on and almost take their business elsewhere, so you better give me something good here. You better deliver me something good. And so Charlie does go on, and he does give him something good. He goes on and he throws this blueprint piece of paper at Belts. He's like, well, yeah, like, you want somebody to talk about Mr. Zakuzzi, about incompetence, do it yourself. So Charlie chucks Belts this blueprint and be like, well, hey, if you're such an expert, do it yourself. I quit. So Wilcox leaves, and And Belts is like, oh my god, all right, well, like, coffee? So Ramsey is now chasing after this ice cream truck, asking for a bomb pop, whatever that means. And we now have to go on and realize that these kids are going on and asking Ramsey. It's like, well, hey, are you leaving? And he's like, leaving. And it's like, well, yeah, like everything's been saved, like, and whatever. And so there's no really any like loose ends or anything like that. And Ramsey's like, well, there's probably one more loose ends that I have to go on and I need to try to do here. So Ramsey goes on and finds the kids that are all skateboarding. And so he grabs a skateboard. This time around, Ramsey is to be miraculously, undoubtedly, very well on the skateboard, it seems. This guy is going on doing a headstand on the skateboard. He's doing all these really wacky, cool moves. And he's even flipping off of the skateboard to then get back onto the skateboard. And all these goofy moves. So, as Ramsey is to give this kid back his skateboard, the kid finds out that the board is kind of a little bit, his wheel is kind of just messed up here, and so Ramsey just goes on and gives the kid his skateboard. Like, wait a minute, like, if Ramsey had gone on and had the skateboard, why is it that he was so bad at it? Supposedly, I guess maybe he's being bad on it on purpose. So Ramsey gives the kid his skateboard, and so the kids all run off like, well, who's gonna get the skateboard first? All right, who's takers? So here's again where we have Ramsey, who's to find the same freaking girl with this cat up in this tree, and so Ramsey turns to the girl like, my cat, and he's like, again with you. So he's like, are you sure that it's your cat? And she's like, yeah, it's my cat. And so he's just like, okay, brother. So takes the branch, and so uh, the girl is like, bad kitty. Uh, and so I think either Ramsey, the girl ends up taking the cat, or the cat leaves, and the girl ends up grabbing the branch, and then like Ramsey is just kind of just not even realizing what's going on here. So the kid ends up getting shucked off into the sky, and so he realizes that she's like shucked off into the sky. So he's like, all right, I'm gonna try and catch her, and so he does. He catches her, and the little girl says thanks, and so Ramsey ends up telling the girl, get a goldfish, and then he walks away. So Ramsey makes his way back to the bounty hunter ship in full Suburban Commando armor, and the Charlie family is there to meet him, or the Wilcox family. Probably shouldn't say Wilcox probably so much because there's probably a word that ends there that probably would be going on and probably be doing some censorship stuff. Oh well. So I'm almost done anyways. We're almost home. So uh Ramsey asks Charlie, it's like, well, hey, like, since you're kind of like you're not doing your job anymore, you quit. Like, what are you gonna do now? Uh, and so Charlie turns to Ramsey. He's like, well, life is too short not to take chances. Like, something will turn up. And Charlie's like, well, maybe I'll become an intergalactic warrior. And Ramsey's like, yeah, and maybe I'll become a family man. And so all of a sudden we come to find that uh, that Belts' secretary is now on the ship, and the secretary is like, "Hey, ET, ready to blast off?" And she's like, "Well, purely educational purposes." So, uh, so Ramsey tells Charlie, "Well, I better get going. You never know who's out there trying to uh, retrieve this hunk of hardware." So, uh, Charlie's like, well, hey, have a nice flight. And so Ramsey ends up telling Charlie, hey, Charlie, too good to say goodbye. And before Ramsey had said, like, well, I don't say goodbyes. And then so Charlie, Ramsey, handshake, goodbye. Then uh, the both of them go on and say, see you around. The ship takes off, leaves. The last thing we end up seeing here is bizarrely Charlie all by himself, uh, because I guess his family is just kind of just wherever. Maybe they took a cab. I don't know. So Charlie is now like back at this light, and everybody's like revving their engine. All right, let's go, let's go. And so Charlie goes on to green light. He goes and he keels off and he beats everybody. But then he stops his car at one point, and I'm like, okay, what is he going to do now? Since he's beaten everybody. And so he whips out this laser gun and he shoots the light. And then he's like, hey, everybody, let's all go. And so all the cars go, and then they wrap up the movie. I'm like, that seems like a very weird ending. But I think they probably should have ended it at the whole, like the ship, like, just flying off thing. But I guess that was like one last loose end thing that finally Charlie was to go on and conquer everything that he had problems with. And I guess that one thing was the thing that they were just going to leave for last. So, with that said, I'm just going to get the heck out of here. I've talked for far too long, anyways, about a movie like this that people probably may not even care about. I hope to go on and probably do uh, the the Dead Space movie next. It'll only be an hour and 20 minutes, so if I don't get that done by probably, I hope to just watch it tomorrow and then get the review out by tomorrow. So we'll see. So hope for the best, but probably expect the worst. I'm trying to at least do these reviews more consistently, but if anything, probably no one has probably tuned in for these whole 3 hours for me to talk about any of this. But like I feel like I'm just gonna go on and just say things anyways, just so that way I can just have something to say by the end of this. I should probably go on and just have better choices of stuff that I review. But then, bizarrely, there are certain things at some points that are actually doing well. And I hope they continue to do well. I hope that something for this channel can just do miraculously well so I can finally actually just get monetized. But until that day actually does come, we'll still be here, hopefully continuing to do these videos until at some point I am to go on and need to have other priorities, because I definitely will go on and I need that to eventually be a thing, because yeah. Anyways, goodbye everybody. Bye everybody.